Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when and where you're listening to this. This is Coffee with Kevin, and I just love that music. It's like doon 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 doon. My son says I need to update it, and I may, but for now I love it. This is Coffee with Kevin, and this is the important thing here. It's coffee, and in case you can't see it, it says number one, it says dad fuel is what it says. It's Father's Day this weekend. Mm-mm-mm. That's the copy of Coffee with Kevin. I'm Kevin, of course. Kevin with Positive Effects, Coaching and Hypnosis. I'm a coach. I am a hypnotherapist. I am an author. I'm a lot of things. But today, just here, I'm a live streamer. How's that? Um, this weekend was Father's Day. It was cool. It was a little sad because I am down in Tampa, and the rest of my kids are elsewhere. Most of them up in the north, all of them up in the Northeast. And so I got to talk to all of them, which is wonderful. Just love talking to my kids, seeing them on FaceTime and whatever. So we had a good time. We had a really good time. I had a good time. I got to choose what I wanted for Father's Day, and what I wanted for Father's Day was to go out to the Golden Corral. Golden Corral is a big buffet, right? So, and I don't get to go to breakfast too often, so we went out nice and early. It opened up at 8 o'clock. We were there at 10 past 8. It was empty. I thought it would, I thought it would be beating the crowds, and we did. I'm sure as the day got longer, it got more crowded. But it was just wonderful. It was all sorts of things. And you know what? I can't. And I don't go to buffets that much anymore because I can't get my money's worth. I just don't eat that much. I get full faster. But that morning, I was able to really take advantage of trying out all my favorite breakfast items, waffles and eggs and bacon and sausages and all sorts of fun stuff. So I had a good Father's Day. The rest of it was, I'm doing the stuff around the house, which actually makes me feel good. Getting the lawn done, and I look at the lawn, and it's just I'm feeling really good, and a lot of relaxing. Father's Day doesn't get better than that, I don't think. Although if I was with my kids in person, that would have been even better. That would have been even better. Good morning. I think it's Brenda there. Good morning, Brenda. Good morning. I love the sunshine. I'm going to show that because everybody should have a sunny good morning. All right. So yeah, and then we did something a little different. We had a shopping mission. Our toaster, basically finally I decided it was gone. It's just taken too long. Some of the wires in there were not lighting up anymore, and just was taking too long. So we went out and got ourselves a toaster oven. Now, my son James, he's that's what he used to talk about as a perfect gift for somebody was a toaster oven. So I can't wait for him to come back down and see our toaster oven. So we went shopping several places just to get out and get around. Sometimes you need to move and you need an excuse, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. We went to 3 stores before we actually bought it, and and it's funny, toaster oven, by the way, is also an air fryer. We want to try the French fries and tater tots in there. um, yeah, yeah. So we went around and we found it, and it's funny. It's funny how sometimes you look at it. I saw it. I got to see it out of the box as a display, and I knew what it was. But when I put it in place, it looked so much smaller than it did in the store. But I had seen it. It's our perceptions seem to sometimes change different in different places and stuff like that, and that's true for all of our lives. We could perceive something one way, and then that very same thing a couple of days later we perceive it a different way. Maybe we're in a different state of mind, or it's in a different place. Whatever it is, our perceptions seem to change on us. We have to be aware of that. We have to be aware that our perceptions are just that, perceptions, not reality. And once we're aware of that, we can change our perceptions. I once I got that installed and looked at it, and by the way, I looked at it and I said, "There's no way you can fit 4 toasts in it." And this is a funny toaster oven, because when you look around the back, it changes your whole perceptions. When you look around the back, there's a curve that comes out, and the actual grill that goes in there is curved, making it enough room for 4 toast. So our perceptions got a little whacked. June 17th today. Holy mackerels, we're in the middle of the 6th month. We're in the middle of the 6th month of 2025. We're halfway through the year. Oh my God, I can't. It's frightening, and it's incredible. 2025, 25 years into this century. I was alive, born 30 years before that. So yeah, it's 40 years. Someone's going to correct me if I didn't correct myself. 40 years before that. So back in as I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, I couldn't fathom 2025. And here we are. And we're moving on to 2030 rapidly. So today, June 17th, in 1885, talk about going back in time a little bit. That's when the Statue of Liberty arrived in the harbor, in New York Harbor, for us. For those of you that don't know, the Statue of Liberty was a gift from France. And kind of a puzzle. There was like 300 and some odd crates. It had to be put together. And, they assembled it and then deassembled it. And they put a lot of work into this. In today's money, they spent about $5.5 million, putting this together, creating this and doing that. And we actually had to build a base. So the base building for the Statue of Liberty is something we built. That was a requirement. And then we assembled the whole thing. And it was ready shortly after July 4th of the next year. So unfortunately, not in time for our July 4th Independence Day. But it's all about freedom. France was celebrating our freedom 100 years before, when we were independent from the British rule. So we're talking about freedom today. Today we talk about freedom. It's pretty cool. Again, on this day in 1885, something incredible happened. It was bigger than stone and metal, the Statue of Liberty. It arrived in New York Harbor. But freedom isn't just a national ideal, is it? It's a personal one. And that's what a lot of us are looking for, is personal freedom. And you might think, well, I want financial freedom. Yeah, that's a way to have freedom. But a lot of us want more freedom than that, a more personal freedom. And in today, many people aren't fighting for physical freedom. They're fighting for emotional freedom. That's right, emotional freedom from anxiety, from stress, past wounds, limiting beliefs, fear of being seen, fear of failure. Matter of fact, even fear of success. We're fighting for those freedoms. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is freedom. But before we get into this, it's national. I didn't get a chance to bring it to me in this room to show you, but it is National Root Beer Day. I have one more root beer left in the refrigerator. I can't wait to get to it. It's National Root Beer Day, so I'll probably celebrate that today. I'll split the root beer with my lovely wife, Brenda, and we'll celebrate National Root Beer Day. But it's also National Eat Your Vegetables Day. You want to eat your vegetables, all your vegetables that you have today. Don't leave any behind. Don't leave a little pea or a little green bean behind. Eat them all. And it's also National Apple Strudel Day. It's funny, we just finished these little tiny apple strudels um, just a couple of days ago. So I wish I had them here for today. Didn't know this was going to be such a wonderful national day today. It's awesome. It is incredible. Again, here's to you, and I hope you have a hot cup of coffee while you're listening and watching this, or a hot cup of tea, or whatever it is you're drinking, water, juice, smoothies, to you. Let's find out, what do we have here? Our first one: the only real prison is fear. The only freedom is freedom from fear. Fear and freedom from fear. That's a wonderful thing, because sometimes we are imprisoned. Sometimes we have so much fear of doing things. It holds us back. It keeps us imprisoned. I was working with a wonderful lady recently, and she had this fear of doing something which actually was preventing her from finishing her very first book. And her very first book meant some freedom. She's getting her thoughts out, her wisdom out. And she wanted to do that, but she had some really specific fear that was holding her back, and she couldn't move forward to the last steps. And now she is. She found that freedom. Okay. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Bob Marley, such a wonderful philosopher. And it's true. What he says here is absolutely true. We sometimes have mental slavery. We need to free our minds. That mental slavery, again, comes from the stress and anxiety and limiting beliefs and things like that. Bob Marley. I should have played some Bob Marley music, and I didn't have that in mind. But hey, it's just wonderful. Liberty means responsibility. That's why most men dread it. George Bernard Shaw. Now, I like this because it's responsibility, and maybe he was talking about political freedom, freedom, and physical freedom. Maybe he was talking about that. But even when it comes to mental, emotional freedom, sometimes we're afraid of that. Sometimes we're afraid of that. What happens if I get rid of my limiting belief? What happens if I get rid of my fear? I have to face what I was afraid of. You have responsibility when you have that freedom. But this freedom, I'll give you a little story. When we're talking about political freedom, I had a client years ago that I was teaching sales tactics to his whole company. And he was from Eastern Europe. And he would go back once a year. Lithuania. He would go back once a year. And he'd take what I taught him and teach his family and teach his friends that are out there, some which had businesses and stuff like that. And he came back. He says, I have a cousin who owns his own gas station. And I was teaching him these things. But my cousin was so sad. He says he wishes he could go back to the time when it was run by communist Russia. He says no one had to work hard. They got the same every time, no matter what the effort they put in. He didn't like the responsibility that he had when he became free. We're responsible for ourselves when we're free. And I can say that same thing with emotional freedom. When you find that emotional freedom from whatever's been imprisoning you, you are responsible for yourself after that. You're responsible to move forward. You're responsible for everything else. I used to think back when I first got into this, actually even before I got into what I do over 20 years ago, I used to think back. I said, am I better here doing what I'm doing, dealing with whatever's going on in the world on a day-to-day basis? Or would I be better in a padded room where I don't know what goes on in the world, where I'm taken care of. I get 3 meals a day. People take care of me. Am I better there, or am I better outside dealing with whatever is on the news that day, dealing with whatever my responsibilities are? And there was some part of that being someone else having total responsibility for you that felt good, but not a big part. I love the freedom. I love the ability. One of the big things that's part of my freedom is to be able to help others. And I love the ability to help others. And I couldn't do that if someone else was responsible for me. Yeah. Okay. Next one. The secret of happiness is freedom. The secret of freedom is courage. And sometimes, like I was saying, sometimes it takes courage. It takes being brave to be able to face your freedom, because you have that responsibility. Thucydides, I think that's the way to pronounce it, was a Greek historian and philosopher. In the last one, freedom is not worth having if it does not include the freedom to make mistakes. Sometimes what we're afraid of, that fear of success, that fear of failure, is fear of making mistakes. We don't want to make mistakes. And people have those fears. That wonderful woman I was talking about, that was her problem. She was fearing making mistakes, and those mistakes would cause her lots of pain. We are going to make mistakes. We're human. The sooner we realize that and fully accept it, making those mistakes that we make easy to move forward from, the sooner we fully accept it, the faster we can move forward in our lives. Don't worry about making mistakes. A lot of us don't like to make mistakes, and we're hard on ourselves. But also, we don't like to make mistakes because we don't want to be embarrassed. Don't worry about what other people think. It's most important about what you think. It's most important about what you think. All right. All right. This has been wonderful. This has been cool. I actually have a closing thought for today. True freedom isn't just crossing borders. It's crossing the limits we put on ourselves, and we do put a lot of limits on ourselves. Today, honor the idea of freedom, being your own mind first. Emotional freedom is available to anyone willing to go inside and unlock it. Willing to go inside and unlock it. That has been it for today. I want to thank you very much for being here, allowing me to share any wisdom, any thoughts with you. Until next week, have a phenomenal day, and make it a phenomenal week. And again, it's not my wishes that'll make it happen for you. It's your decision to allow it to happen for you. Take care, all. Bye.